I own you. The words hit before Alexander Montgomery even stepped into the courtroom. Judge Frank Caprio looked up from his notes, pen hovering over the docket. He removed his reading glasses slowly, deliberately, as if preparing to dissect the very air around him. He had seen arrogance before. This was something else. Alexander walked in, 24 years old, tailored navy suit, polished shoes, hair perfect, smile smug. Every step screamed entitlement. The courtroom seemed to shrink around him. Phones hovered mid-recording, murmurs rose in the gallery, but he didn't care. I own this court, Alexander repeated, louder this time, making sure everyone heard. Caprio didn't flinch. Not even a twitch. His calmness was deliberate, surgical. And yet, he said, his voice soft, measured, here you are, under the law. Facing accountability. Respect is not bought. It is earned. Alexander smirked. Respect? I don't need it. My father owns half the city. You can't touch me. Caprio's eyes narrowed slightly, not in anger but focus. Money cannot erase your actions. Influence cannot rewrite consequences. You are here because of what you did, not who your father is. The gallery held its breath. The tension was so thick you could almost touch it. Alexander's attorney, slick and polished, stepped forward. Your Honor, Alexander acknowledges the citation. He is a first-time offender. This was an isolated incident. We request the matter be resolved administratively, with standard fines. Caprio didn't look at him. He looked at Alexander. Only him. Is that how you see this? He asked quietly. Something to pay for, then forget? Alexander shrugged. It's a speeding ticket. Happens every day. Every day. Caprio's voice sharpened, though not louder. And tearing it up in front of an officer? Ignoring a summons? Threatening public servants with your father's influence? Alexander's lips curled into a laugh. She deserved it. I have places to be. More important than a law. Maybe. Caprio didn't react. So, when it's inconvenient, the law doesn't apply. When it's inconvenient, you take shortcuts. Is that what you've decided? He leaned back slightly, letting the weight of his words settle. The gallery went silent. Phones stopped recording, scribbles paused mid-note. Even the bailiff shifted his stance, sensing this confrontation was far beyond a simple traffic case. Officer Chen, Caprio said, finally. Please step forward. A woman in uniform, mid-30s, composed, professional, approached. Her presence alone demanded respect. On September 18, at 4:37 p.m., she began, voice clear, steady. I observed a silver Mercedes traveling westbound at 62 miles per hour in a 35 miles per hour zone. I activated my lights. The vehicle did not yield for 4 blocks before stopping. Alexander rolled his eyes, but the officer ignored it. She continued. When I approached the driver, she refused to provide a license initially. After 3 requests, she finally handed it over. I began issuing a citation, then the defendant tore it into pieces and threw it out the window. A stunned silence followed. The courtroom collectively inhaled. She then said, and I quote, "Do you know who my father is? Senator Montgomery. He'll make sure this doesn't stand. And you'd better watch your job." Caprio's gaze zeroed in on Alexander. Did this happen? Alexander's posture stiffened. I don't remember it that way. How do you remember it? She was aggressive. I felt unsafe, he replied, voice forced. You felt unsafe, so you threatened an officer's career? Caprio asked, calmly cutting through the excuses. From what exactly were you defending yourself? Alexander's smirk faltered. For the first time, he seemed off balance. The gallery noticed. This was the first crack in the armor. Caprio gestured to the clerk. Is there video evidence? Yes, Your Honor. Dash cam and body cam, Chen said. The courtroom lights dimmed as the footage played. A residential street appeared. Chalk drawings. Parked cars. Then, a silver Mercedes barreling past stop signs and children on the sidewalk. Sirens flared. No slowing. 4 blocks before the driver finally stopped. Body cam footage, Alexander's voice, unmistakable, sharp and arrogant. Why are you pulling me over? Don't you know who I am? My father owns half this city. The sound of tearing paper echoed. Send this to his office. We'll handle it. Don't forget your badge number. The video ended. Silence. 5 seconds that felt like eternity. Phones were down. People held their breath. Caprio looked at Alexander. Still don't remember. Alexander's eyes dropped. Arrogance meets accountability. The courtroom remained still, every eye fixed on Alexander Montgomery. Caprio's gaze didn't waver. It cut through the arrogance like a scalpel. Alexander, he said softly, you're not here because of wealth, education, or influence. You're here because of action. Actions have consequences. You just learned that the hard way. Alexander smirked, trying to regain control. Judge, with all due respect, my father's office. Caprio raised a finger. Calm, deliberate. Surgical. You will not invoke your father's power in this courtroom. You are not in a boardroom. You are not in a club. You are here to answer for your behavior. Not your connections. The gallery leaned forward. Phones hovered. Whispers died as everyone sensed the moment was turning pivotal. Caprio gestured toward the clerk. Read the witness statements. The clerk's voice was steady. First, Mr. Lawrence Kimball, retired teacher and resident of Hope Street, on September 18, a silver Mercedes passed at dangerous speed. I had my dog on a leash. If it had been 3 feet closer, it would have been killed. I called the police. I have lived on this street 30 years and never witnessed such recklessness. The gallery shifted uncomfortably. Alexander's face paled slightly. Caprio leaned forward, voice even but cold. So, near-death experiences, dogs, children, neighbors, do they not matter because you are Alexander Montgomery? Alexander opened his mouth but no words came. Second statement, the clerk continued. Officer Mei Chen confirms excessive speed, refusal to cooperate, destruction of citation, and verbal threats invoking the defendant's father. Alexander's lawyer started to speak, hand raised. Caprio shook his head. Not now. Let's hear the defendant. Alexander hesitated, trying to muster charm. It was a misunderstanding. She overreacted. I was late. My father. Caprio held up his hand. Silence. You were late. I understand that. You destroyed legal documents. You threatened a public servant. Your father's position is irrelevant. Character and accountability are not inherited. Alexander's smirk faltered. For the first time, the room saw him vulnerable, unsure. Caprio's voice dropped, measured. Alexander, let me ask you 3 yes or no questions. Answer honestly. Alexander nodded, tight-lipped. Did you exceed the speed limit by nearly double? Yes, he whispered. Did you destroy a legal citation in front of an officer? Yes. Did you threaten Officer Chen by invoking your father's influence? Yes. The gallery held its breath. Even the stenographer paused mid-stroke. Caprio nodded once. Thank you for honesty. Recognition is the first step. He opened a folder and began to lay out the evidence. Reckless driving, radar and dash cam verified. Destruction of legal citation, body cam verified. Threatening public officer, audio and witness testimony. Ignoring court summons, official record. Political interference, documented emails and calls from father's office. The courtroom temperature dropped. Alexander's confidence crumbled under the weight of irrefutable evidence. Caprio leaned back slightly, voice softening. You are 24. Wealth, opportunity, education, privilege. All doors have been opened to you. And yet, you chose to wield power not for service, not for good, but to avoid responsibility. That is the lesson this courtroom must teach. Public office, public trust, and law are not shields for entitlement. They are mirrors for character. Alexander swallowed. No smirk. No arrogance. Caprio continued, voice calm, deliberate, but every word hitting like steel. You will pay fines. You will perform community service. You will write apologies. You will educate yourself about the responsibilities your privilege cannot erase. You will submit reflections. And you will learn humility, not because someone tells you to, but because the consequences are real and inescapable. Alexander's attorney tried to protest, stammering. Caprio silenced him with a single raised hand. No shortcuts. No excuses. Character cannot be borrowed, inherited, or bought. It must be earned. The gallery exhaled. Phones lowered. People shifted. Witnesses, staff, and bystanders realized something rare was happening. A young man, heir to unimaginable wealth, was facing the consequences of his own choices for the first time in his life. Alexander's jaw tightened. For the first time, the audience saw fear, not for his reputation, but for reality. Caprio paused, letting the silence speak. Then, quietly but firmly. Do you understand why you are here? Yes, Your Honor, Alexander whispered, voice breaking. Good, Caprio said. Because understanding is only the beginning. Redemption is a choice, and you now have the chance to choose wisely. Alexander nodded, tears threatening. He glanced around the courtroom, faces he had thought beneath him now staring at him as equals. The gallery no longer saw the billionaire's son, they saw a human being accountable for his actions. Caprio's gaze softened slightly. Your fines are reduced in part for cooperation, but the full sentence will remain unless all community service, letters, and reflections are completed. Let this be a lesson: power is inherited. Character is chosen. And every action has consequences. Alexander exhaled slowly. The weight of the courtroom, the law, and his choices settled into him for the first time. For the first time, he felt small. Redemption and consequences. For weeks after the courtroom confrontation, Alexander Montgomery reported to his next assignment, teaching road safety at a local community center. The room smelled faintly of chalk and pizza boxes. Teenagers lounged in chairs, skeptical, whispering among themselves. Alexander's first thought, I can't believe I'm here. Second thought, I have no choice. He stood at the front, straightening his tie, forcing himself to speak with authority. What happens if you speed? Asked a 16-year-old boy, arms crossed. You endanger lives, Alexander replied, voice steady but measured. I know because I did it. I thought my father's influence made me untouchable. It didn't. Respect isn't inherited. Responsibility is earned. A murmur ran through the room. Some teens nodded. Some just stared. But for the first time, Alexander felt something he never had, genuine connection, a sense that his actions mattered beyond himself. Week 6, Public Service Announcements. Alexander returned to the voter education project. Cameras were set up. He was instructed to record 2 public service announcements. Respecting public office. Entitlement versus duty. He looked into the lens, recalling every arrogant word he had spoken in court. I thought my father's position made me special. It didn't. It made my behavior worse. Public office is responsibility. I forgot that. I won't forget again. His words carried weight now. They weren't for fame, influence, or resume building. They were truth. Week 8, engaging with the community. Alexander helped organize a voter registration drive. An older woman approached, hesitant, hands shaking. I always thought my vote didn't matter, she said softly. Alexander smiled gently. It does more than you know, he said, meaning it for the first time in his life. Later, he reflected in his journal, I always thought democracy was a shield. It's not. It's a responsibility. And privilege without accountability is dangerous. Week 10, facing those he harmed. Alexander returned to Mr. Lawrence Kimball's home, the man whose dog had almost been killed. They sat in the modest living room. Kimball didn't smile, but he didn't scold either. He simply handed Alexander a photo of the dog. You almost took something precious, he said quietly. Never forget that. Alexander nodded, swallowing. I won't. I see now. Then he visited Officer Chen. He extended his apology personally. Chen read silently, eyes steady. Then she nodded. Thank you. I hope you mean it, she said. I do, Alexander said. And this time, he meant it. Week 12, Reflection and Learning. Alexander completed his 150 hours, recorded the PSAs, wrote apology letters, and attended every civic ethics session. He wrote a reflection essay titled, Democracy is Not a Shield. I thought privilege protected me. I thought influence erased accountability. I was wrong. Democracy protects everyone. When I use my power to avoid consequences, I attack the very system that protects us all. I have learned that responsibility cannot be inherited. Respect cannot be demanded. Character is the only measure that matters. Week 14, Final Court Appearance. Alexander walked into the courtroom alone. No entourage. No lawyers. Just him and his record of redemption. Caprio observed quietly. Speak, he said. Alexander took a breath. I completed everything you required. 150 hours, all letters, all sessions. I met Carmen, Officer Chen, Mr. Kimball, and so many others. They taught me what my education never did. I walked in thinking I was special. I wasn't. I was entitled. Special is earned. Entitled is assumed. I was owed nothing. I earned nothing. I took everything. I cannot undo what I did. But I can do better. I am doing better. The courtroom was silent. Everyone waited. Caprio's voice was calm, firm, yet measured. The state fine is remitted. You owe $3,000 today. You completed what I required. That doesn't erase the harm, it shows you began to understand. Understanding is the beginning. You asked if I knew who you were. I do now. Someone who made terrible choices, misused privilege, and threatened a public servant. But also, someone who faced consequences and chose to grow. That is who you are now. Make sure that is who you remain. Alexander nodded, tears in his eyes. I will, Your Honor. Caprio inclined his head. You're dismissed. Epilogue, Lessons that Last. 4 months later. Rhode Island implemented a statewide policy requiring all communications attempting to influence pending cases to be logged publicly. Legislative offices received ethics training on boundaries. The Voter Education Project received an anonymous $5,000 donation. Officer Chen received a formal commendation. Alexander Montgomery continued volunteering quietly. No announcements, no social media posts, no fame, just action. He had walked in expecting immunity. He walked out understanding democracy. Understanding responsibility. Understanding accountability. The final line for impact. Power is inherited. Character is chosen. Consequences reveal who you truly are.